You may feel disconnected from people around you. You may feel misunderstood. You may even question yourself. But this loneliness is not punishment. It is space. Sacred space. The kind of space your soul needs in order to breathe again. Because for the first time in a long time, you are finally listening. Not to the world, not to fear, but to yourself. And your soul has been trying to speak to you for years. Through exhaustion, through anxiety, through overthinking, through the strange sadness you feel even when everything looks fine on the outside. Your soul does not scream. It whispers, quietly, patiently, repeatedly, waiting for the moment you finally become still enough to hear it. Maybe that moment is now. Maybe that is why you are here. Not by accident, not because you are broken, but because something inside you is ready to awaken. An awakening often begins with destruction. The destruction of illusions. The destruction of identities built from survival instead of truth. The destruction of the endless pressure to become acceptable to everyone else while abandoning yourself in the process. You were never meant to carry all of that forever. You were never meant to spend your whole life fighting yourself. There's a softer way to live, a quieter way, a truer way. But first, you must allow yourself to stop running. That is harder than people think. Because when you stop running, emotions you buried years ago begin rising to the surface. Grief, regret, fear, anger, loneliness. Feelings you thought disappeared suddenly return with unexpected force. And your first instinct may be to push them away again. But healing does not happen by avoiding your darkness. Healing happens when you finally sit beside it without fear. When you stop judging your pain. When you stop apologizing for your emotions. When you stop trying to earn your worth through suffering. You do not need to become perfect before you deserve peace. You deserve peace now. There's a moment in your life that no one prepares you for. A quiet moment, almost invisible. Nothing dramatic happens on the outside. The world keeps moving. People keep talking. Cars keep passing. Notifications still light up your screen. But inside you, something begins to shift. Something ancient. Something tired. Something that has spent too many years pretending to be okay. And suddenly, without warning, you realize you cannot keep living the same way anymore. Not because you are weak, but because your soul is exhausted from carrying a version of you that was never real. You feel it late at night the most. When everything becomes silent. When distractions lose their power. When you sit alone with your thoughts and feel this strange emptiness sitting quietly inside your chest. Not pain exactly. Not sadness exactly. Just a deep knowing that something is missing. And no matter how hard you try to explain it to other people, the words never come out right. Because this feeling was never meant to be explained. It was meant to wake you up. Most people spend their entire lives running from this feeling. They cover it with noise, work, relationships, endless scrolling, endless chasing, endless proving. They fill every quiet space because silence forces them to meet themselves. And meeting yourself can feel terrifying when you have spent years becoming who the world wanted instead of who you truly are. But you are different now. You are beginning to notice the mask. You notice how tired you feel after pretending to be strong all the time. You notice how heavy it feels to smile when your heart is asking for rest. You notice how lonely it becomes when nobody truly knows you, because even you have forgotten who you are beneath all the roles you perform every day. And maybe that scares you. Maybe part of you wants to go back to sleep, back to the comfortable numbness, back to the old distractions. Because awakening sounds beautiful until it begins removing every. The strange thing about awakening is that it does not arrive all at once. It comes in waves, quiet realizations, small moments that seem ordinary until they suddenly change the way you see your entire life. One day you wake up and notice that the things which once excited you no longer hold the same power. The noise becomes exhausting. The constant pressure to chase, impress, compete, and perform begins feeling unbearably heavy. And for the first time, you stop asking yourself how to become more accepted by the world and start asking a much deeper question. What if I simply become myself? That question changes everything. Because most of your suffering did not come from who you are. It came from trying to become someone else. Someone easier to love. easier to understand, easier to fit into the expectations around you. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being yourself was risky. Maybe people misunderstood your softness. Maybe your emotions were ignored. Maybe your kindness was taken for granted. So you adapted. You built walls. You became careful. You learned how to survive in a world that rewards appearances more than authenticity. But surviving is not the same as living. Your soul knows the difference. That is why you feel restless even when life seems fine on the surface. That is why certain moments feel strangely empty even when you achieve what you once wanted. Because deep down, your spirit is searching for something real. Not more validation, not more distraction, just truth. Pure truth. And truth has a quiet way of undoing everything false. At first, this can feel painful. You may begin outgrowing people you once felt deeply connected to. Conversations that once entertained you now feel hollow. Places that once comforted you suddenly feel heavy. You may even feel disconnected from your old self, as if part of you is disappearing. But what is leaving your life was never aligned with your deepest self to begin with. You are not losing yourself, even in your unfinished becoming. That truth changes something deep inside you when you finally accept it. Because so much of your life may have been built around proving yourself worthy. Worthy of love, worthy of rest, worthy of acceptance, worthy of existing exactly as you are. But your worth was never something you had to earn. It was always there beneath the fear, beneath the conditioning, beneath the survival version of you that learned to shrink in order to feel safe. And now your soul is asking you to stop shrinking, to stop abandoning yourself for people who cannot meet you where you are, to stop carrying expectations that suffocate your spirit, to stop believing that your sensitivity is weakness. Because it is not weakness, it is awareness. Sensitive people often suffer deeply because they feel everything. They absorb energy. They notice unspoken emotions. They carry invisible weight that others never see. And after years of feeling misunderstood, many sensitive souls learn to hide their depth just to survive. Maybe you did too. Maybe you became quieter, colder, more distant, not because that is who you are, but because the world taught you that feeling deeply was dangerous. But your depth is not the problem. Your heart is not too much. Your emotions are not flaws that need fixing. They're signals guiding you back toward yourself. And the more you listen, the more your life begins changing in subtle ways. You start craving peace more than attention. You begin protecting your energy instead of constantly explaining yourself. You become less interested in pretending and more interested in truth. Even silence begins feeling different. Not empty, not lonely, but comforting. Like returning home after being lost for years. And perhaps that is what this journey truly is. A return, not towards some future version of yourself, but toward the person you have always been underneath the fear, the noise, and the endless pressure to become some. None of this is happening against you. Life may be guiding you back home to yourself. And home is not a place. It is a feeling. It is the moment you stop fighting who you are. It is the moment you stop apologizing for your depth, your sensitivity, your emotions, your truth. It is the moment you finally sit with yourself in complete honesty and realize you are worthy of love exactly as you are. Not someday, not after you heal, not after you achieve more. Now, right here in this imperfect, beautiful moment, you're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to let go of everything that no longer feels true. And maybe after all these years of searching outside yourself for peace, meaning, and belonging, you are finally beginning to understand something your soul has been whispering all along. What you were searching for was never far away. It was always waiting quietly within you. And slowly, almost gently, life begins teaching you new things. You begin understanding that peace is more valuable than attention. That protecting your energy is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. That rest is not laziness. That slowing down does not mean failure. You stop rushing through life, trying to arrive somewhere, and begin noticing the beauty that has always existed around you. The morning light through your window, The calm feeling after deep honesty. The relief of no longer pretending. The healing power of simply sitting quietly with yourself. These small moments become sacred because you finally understand something most people never do. Life was never meant to be a constant performance. You were never meant to spend every moment proving your worth to the world. You were meant to experience your life fully, to feel it, to breathe it, to be present inside it. For so long, your mind may have lived in survival mode, always preparing, always worrying, always replaying the past or fearing the future. But awakening slowly pulls you back into the present moment. It reminds you that healing does not happen in the past. Peace does not exist in the future. Your life is happening here, now, in this breath, in this moment. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is realizing that you were never as broken as you believed. You were overwhelmed. You were disconnected. You were carrying pain that was never meant to be carried alone. But broken? No. There's always been something whole inside you. Something untouched by disappointment, rejection, heartbreak, or fear. Beneath all the noise, there's still a quiet light within you that has never gone out. Even during your darkest nights, it remained there waiting patiently for you to notice it again. That light is your truth, your essence, your soul. And the moment you reconnect with it, your entire relationship with life begins to change. You stop measuring your value by productivity.